What's going on, everyone? This is Jordan with Conquer Trading and Investing, and this is our weekly Forex forecast and analysis for the upcoming week of the April 13th through the 17th. Before we get started, anyone watching today, blessed Easter, blessed Easter. He has risen. Truly, he has risen. Wish you all a beautiful, beautiful, blessed day. All right, everyone, let's get into it. Starting here with the Euro US dollar, we're looking here on the daily time frame, and what do we notice? The first thing that I want to bring your attention towards is this whole area. You could see that price. You could picture actually the price action coming down and then shooting way up and then all the way back down, and then the up move now a little bit less, and then the down move a little bit less. And here we are now after last week, and what I'm saying is we have kind of neutralized this price discovery. We're towards the lower middle half of the range. We have this little channel over here to focus in on, okay? Now, as we lean towards the top of this channel, if you get another chance towards the top of this channel, especially as we get closer in towards this resistance, this is a place that I continue to look to lean in over here. You have on the commitment of traders, you do have a large margin of traders long the euro over here. That's probably has to do with obviously the amount of expansion of the Fed's balance sheet and stimulus coming out of the US. However, at the same time, all this debt is creating worldwide a demand for the dollar. So we're going to see a battle over here. I'm just going to follow the charts. That's what I want you to focus in on over here. You can see over here on Friday, we closed above this near-term support. All right, this is what we're going to be watching on Monday. We're going to focus now into a swing traders mentality over here. All right, we have this lower trend line over here of this channel. If and when we break below that, that's the time to get aggressive towards the short side. And then we'll come down here and look to test this area down over here. Now, again, on the upside, and again, so here's what you have to worry about. If you break over this area of support over here, you do have trendline support that comes into play pretty quickly. All right, so careful shorting below this area of support until you clear this trend line. That's where the trade gets a little bit easier. Now, if this support holds and this trend line holds over here, this trend line support, lower trend line, we come back up. You have this light area of resistance over here to first look to possible a rejection of, and then again, as if we get up over here, this is where it gets really attractive to really step in to look if we're rejected to come over here and short. As far as playing up off of this support over here, yeah, if you see a continuation of that weaker dollar coming into the session on Monday and you see this support holding and price making higher highs, the momentum here is with the euro against the dollar. There's a lot to get into today. There's a lot to cover. We're going to get into it all. Right now, we're going to take a look at the DXY. This is the US dollar index. The reason being over here, focus in on this trend line over here. You can see the touches over here in this area. And then again over here. Over here provided resistance. And now we're trading over here on the close of Friday. It's a little bit undecided whether or not this is going to hold or break. All right. Start trading below this and you get weak minded towards the US dollar over here, and we could expect a further extension. I think we come down and challenge the 98.30 area. I do really think that is the area that we will come down and test if we do break this trend line and see some momentum early on Monday. Now, if this then does breaks over here, if the 98.30 doesn't hold, you know, at that point we could see a sustained weaker dollar. Definitely the area of 97.30 will be a big test below that. Now, let's see what happens if this area holds. If we are able to hold this trend line over here and start trading up over here, then it's clear. It's clear that we're going to see that dollar strength resuming with a test of the 101 area. And if that breaks, we'll soon be up to testing the new highs. So we're at a pretty interesting area for the DXY because it opens up the possibility of further dollar weakness or dollar strength. This is a critical opening of the week on Monday. We're going to find out which way the dollar goes. You could see just like the euro was trading down, is trading very volatile, and then kind of is coming down to the coiler right now. I see the dollar also coiling. A big move up or down is coming up. Let's take a look right now at the S&P 500. What a week for equity markets. It's the biggest gain in a week for equity markets since 1932. Easily with 17 million Americans out of work in the past 3 weeks, easy to see why that the US equity markets are ripping up like this. We did a video on whether or not we're going to have a V-shaped recovery, really informative, or if we're going to come down and test the lows. I do suggest you check that out, as well as be on the lookout for another one coming up, which is going to talk about as the Fed now is getting ready to possibly step in and purchase equities, what is going to happen. So stay tuned for that. Let's take a look right now. As you can see, we're going to drop down to the 8-hour to give you a nice look over here. And you can see that we're coming into this area, this big resistance area that I have from 2,800 all the way up to 2,880. And this trend line resistance over here. We're coming into an area now of resistance. What does it mean? Listen, I'm going to do a really in-depth video over here on the equity markets, all that's taking place with the expansion of the Fed's balance sheet, whether or not we're going to actually see the equities price in what is taking place in the economy, which is an absolute train wreck, or we're going to see these things continue to trade up. Right now, though, coming down to the 8-hour, looking at the swing trader's perspective, focus in on this trend line over here. As we're into this resistance, a break below this trend line could send us down to the first target in support over here at 26.28. We need to talk about oil, so let's talk about WTI crude oil over here. Going into the weekend, things were actually not looking so. What a volatile day Friday was. Look at that range between 23 and 28.5. Extremely volatile. Things closed not looking so good, whether or not they were going to get the production cut needed to make a difference in the oversupply. Mexico over the weekend is still a holdout. One way or another, probably they're going to see some type of cut. And listen, if we see price come up and test 28.55 again, if we're able to finally get a break, all right, up at 38.82, we have to look to short this thing, as well as if we even get higher, closing the gap here at 41. Long term, the economy has such an oversupply of oil right now. There's just tons of oil sitting on ships over out in sea, as well as more oil is being pumped daily than can be consumed. That's not good over here. Let's see what happens on the opening on Monday. I'm assuming things get worked out. We're actually able to come back up here, maybe trade up a little bit higher. Maybe we only get as high as 26. That's a good place to lean in. Longer term, what I'm getting at over here is we're going to see a continued global economy slowdown, recession, probably depression, and that's going to weigh on oil prices going forward. Any type of retraces are an opportunity to sell. Right now, there's no clarity because of the geopolitical events taking place. Let's see what happens early in the week. Let's see what happens. Let's see how price reacts, and then we'll check in during our live streams with oil and look for a way to actually get back into this trade. Right now is not the time. There's just too many variables in play, and there's a lot of uncertainty. Take a look over here at gold, and gold is trading and looking so beautiful right now. I have to say, down here, as during the liquidity crisis, as gold sold off, things were looking really bad over here. A lot of traders were scared. No one had any idea how low this thing was going to go. Right now, this is looking and acting exactly as gold should be pricing in this expansion of the monetary supply right now. Gold is actually acting exactly as gold should act. Getting above, making new highs over here at 1700. We've said it all along. If we are able to break above 1700, the possibility exists that we are able to come up and challenge the highs up here towards 1900 in a relatively quick amount of time. There's not much between 1700 and up here at 1788. So I would expect that we could see some continued big moves in gold. Now, this is also dependent, going back to our look at the dollar, the DXY earlier today, whether or not we start seeing the dollar firm up or roll over this next week is also going to help decide what happens next on gold. I'm not a buyer up here. There were some of you that in our live stream, Anita positioned in over here, taking this, what looked like for her, a head and shoulders over here. Beautiful trade. Nevertheless, over here you have the trend line break to the upside. I know that some of you positioned in over there, and now you are really sitting pretty. I like how price came up here, came back down, tested this broken resistance, held this support, and is now up here challenging the highs. I'm definitely rooting for gold right now. I am just on the sidelines aside. And if you're not yet holding the physical stuff, listen, you have to own physical gold as a portion of your portfolio. All right, so there's not a tradable event going on right here for me right now. It's just a question of managing. Anyone who's looking to step in here and fade the highs up here, listen, gold is acting exactly as it should, right? Coming over here and trying to be a hero and selling tops is very dangerous. Please do reconsider. All right, let's take a look over here at Bitcoin. Bitcoin over the weekend is actually being sold pretty heavily. Altogether, I would say it's down about 5%. Okay, now step back with me. Let's step back together. First of all, this is this trend line over here. This trend line over here. This is where we were just rejected, okay? This is expected. This is resistance. First take didn't hold. Above 6,500. This is very bullish here on Bitcoin, okay? We are way off the lows over here of the liquidity crisis. Coming up here, you see gold is challenging the highs. Bitcoin, how long before it's challenging the highs over here, the yearly highs? We're about 32 days away from the halving where Bitcoin supply is going to be cut in half. We're seeing quantitative hardening in effect over here while the rest of the world is easing. Do not sleep here on Bitcoin. This looks like a nice opportunity. I had a buy order in at 6,750 after taking 2/3 as I updated on TradingView of my position off up here. I now at 6,715 scaled in, and I will again at 6,670 with a stop below at 6,350. If we lose 6,500, right, I have my stop at 6,350 at that point. I want to be on the side. I'm not looking to short this. I will, however, get out of the way and wait for things to clear up. Right now, though, I'm looking for Bitcoin this week to come up here and take a look at testing this resistance of this trend line again and hopefully take it out to the upside. Whether it's this week or next week, that's what I'm looking to happen soon. Right now, going into the weekend, Bitcoin, though, however, is under pressure. And next, we're going to take a look at the US dollar, Japanese yen. Before we do, I just want to point out that we've looked at basically the major instruments so far. Started off with the euro US dollar, the most heavily traded currency pair there is. Then looking at the dollar index. We've looked at oil. We've looked at gold. We've looked at Bitcoin. Those are really the areas you need to focus in on. Now we're going to get into we're first the US dollar, Japanese yen, and then we're going to get into some of the cross pairs. Now during the week, the reason we started off with the instruments we did is that gives us, the S&P 500, that gives us the overall feel of the market itself. Now we're going to get into kind of looking at the crosses and see where some opportunity lies. And then each week, when we do our live streams, we continue to work out that plan, pricing in all information as it is occurring. Here, looking at the US dollar, Japanese yen, you can see, first of all, what I see is that price over here at the end of the day has been sideways ever since October, right? We are back where we started in October with some huge volatile swings over here. The other thing I see that is two things. First of all, as you all are familiar with, this yellow trend line, that's a 5-year trend line going back. Underneath it, and you have to be bearish the Japanese yen, especially under 109.71, this blue line. Now you're up towards the top of it. It's a place to possibly lean in. If we do see that further dollar weakness coming in this week, we are going to see some nice gains here then on the yen. Now, what I'm really looking for to happen, or what I'm aware of that could happen, is that we could see actually some severe dollar strength. Now, things are changing rapidly. That's why I said I'm going to do a really good video here on the Fed's monetary expansion over here and how that's going to affect not only the stock market but currencies. Now, if the US dollar does wind up strengthening and we get a breakout above this area of this trend line, right, and the 109.71 area, both of those right over here, you could see it happen twice. 2 times it made an attempt and the dollar both times then was sold off. If we get above there, And clearly, if you break about above 112.18, at that point, I think we're going to really see some significantly higher prices here on the US dollar versus the Japanese yen. But right now, while we're below this important area, I have to remain with a bearish bias here. As far as any tradable events right now, you could see the dollar under pressure on Friday. We're hugging this area, which is support. We're into it right now, and we're definitely holding that support. Watch what happens on Monday, because if we continue to make a lower low, if we make a lower low over here at 108.20 and start trading below, 50-point pip move to the downside is going to happen pretty quickly. I'm sorry, my numbers are off there. That's 108.20. That's a 100-pip move to the downside to the next area of support. So watch this over here. Watch what the dollar does. This is offering a possible opportunity. I don't think it's too late yet to sell. Obviously, this was the area of resistance. Why was it resistance? We have the yellow trend line and the line in the sand, the 109.71. The closer we were to that. But if we get some sustained movement down here, there's still a lot of money to be made over here. And then, of course, if this doesn't hold, that opens up the whole area to the downside. So it's not clear what's happening yet. I'm giving more broader lines over here. Let me recap over here. Right now, price is still sideways. If you look at it since even going back to September, not just October, we're right where we were on September 16th. Okay. Now, the line to watch out for is a break above this trend line over here, this yellow trend line, and 109.71. If that happens for the third time, right, and we do get above 112, then it's off to the races. Until then, though, you have to have a bearish bias here on the US dollar, Japanese yen. All right, let's look at the pound US dollar. And so the dollar's at a pretty critical area. We looked at that on the DXY, and I showed you how it could go either way from here. We could actually begin to see, first of all, it's coiling. The US dollar is coiling down. We're going to see a large expansing move again soon enough. That could go either way from this point. I'm totally neutral, and I'm hoping for it to go either way, and I just want to be there to take advantage of whichever way it goes. You could see that playing out here on the pound US dollar. Why? Because we're right now into this area of resistance. What does that mean? If this area is rejected, right, we want to be short the pound versus the dollar, 100%, right? At the same time, look over here on the upside. There's not much over here between 1.25 and all the way up here at 1.27. So that's 300 pips. There's not much in between, and you could see this move to the upside over here and then down over here. You could see there's not much over there, all right? Maybe even a little lower, right? 250 pips. If we break above this resistance early this week, look for that move to be closed quickly, okay? Or if not higher, but at least this area over here. So we're at a very important point over here. If this resistance breaks, expect some quick price action shooting us up into this area of resistance up much higher. Now, until the resistance is broken, we're looking for it to hold. If price starts making lower lows over here, if you see the resistance hold over here, if you see that price resumes downward, whether you want to do that on the 8-hour time frame over here, it's careful because I don't trade Asia on the opening over here. So during London, you see this resistance still holding and then price making lower lows. That might be your area to the attack. At the same time, if you do see price break out over here on the open, right? If you see some dollar weakness on the open, pound taking advantage, makes the breakout, hold off, wait for the pullback, and then look for the price resumption. At least that's what I'm doing. I do want to look at the US dollar, Canadian dollar with you right now. This is really interesting and in play for us. And the reason why is, first of all, this is a play looking at the US dollar at that critical juncture. And then also oil is in play right now, right? What is oil going to do? Is it going to break down past the $20 mark and put a lot of pressure on it? Or is it going to actually firm up over here and break up back towards the $35, $40 area? And if it does, you could see if that happens, if oil firms up and the dollar weakens, you're going to see us fall all the way back. First, checking out this big area of support. And then if that breaks, all the way down to the really important area, all the way down 500 pips in play. So watch what happens here on the US dollar, Canadian dollar. I highlighted this triangle area because that kind of makes it easier for you to play, right? If you're going to get a breakdown or a break up, if oil actually, shows a little bit of weakness over here, starts breaking below $20, dollar firms up here, this is going to be testing all the way up here pretty quickly. So Canadian dollar is at a pretty critical juncture over here. As you could see, we're winding down from the volatility. We're seeing like that spring coil up, and it's about to break out to the upside or downside. Over here was a little bit tough for people to be playing the US dollar, Canadian dollar. I have told you that I am on the sidelines ever since this breakout over here. Now is the time to get interested in it again. This pair is absolutely in play in this week ahead, and I hope this little bit of a triangle over here helps give you the guide you need in order to take advantage of it. Let's get on it. Let's take a look here at the Australian dollar, Swiss franc. This is a risk off pair. We have seen, we're almost, I would say, we're about 800 pips off the lows over here in just a few weeks. And now we're coming into an area again. This was the first area turn support of resistance we closed above last week. And now we're coming into this area again of resistance. Listen, there is two sides of the coin. Is the global economy going to recover from here, or are we going to see some more pain? I'm in the later camp. Now, it is what it is. Prices come off pretty substantially off of the lows and off of this consolidation area. It's made another leg up, but it is coming back now to another area to possibly look to take advantage of another possible short into this resistance. I'm going to be there to take a look at it. If we get up a little bit higher and I see price reversing, are we into resistance right now over here? Mildly. I wouldn't take, if we rolled over early on Monday, I wouldn't take the short. I might actually wait to get back below 0.59435, this support down over here, as an indication that it's time then, if price rolls over directly, to really see a substantial breakdown. If we get a test up of the resistance all the way up here, though, at 0.6215, then I'm interested in seeing how price reacts off of it, and I might look to take advantage there of it. All right, pound, Japanese yen. This is something for us to keep an eye on as well. A couple of things going on over here. First of all, where I want to bring your attention to is this area over here, this resistance all the way up at 136.83. Now, we only tested actually 250 pips below that. But you could see, and I want to drop down to the 8-hour to give you a really big look. Before we do, I want you to see the big downtrend. Price, like on most instruments, has now come up to a big area of resistance. You even saw this on the S&P. You're seeing this across the board. But where are we? Again, look at this trend line over here. Look at this area of support. If this is a false breakout over here, we trade down below this support and then break this trend line to the downside. That's an opportunity to look for a pretty strong resumption downwards. This is a moment when people are looking for perhaps the peak inside the US, the peak, where they start flattening the curve for the first time. We're going to see definitely resumption upwards. I'm expecting that we see possible good news on Monday because of not only the weekend, which shows lower counts going back over the last couple of months. It's also a holiday weekend. So we're probably going to see some under-reporting, maybe even get another look a little higher if we get a little bit more of risk on against the Japanese yen. And then over here, again, I'll just keep extending this trend line over here. I'll keep extending it. If we get up into this resistance, look for us to break down. And as soon as we do break below this trend line over here, that does look like a nice opportunity to attack. This is the pound Japanese yen, the dragon. She's hard to ride, but she has some violent moves, and there's a lot of money to be made if you're able to take advantage. Listen, everyone, hope you enjoy the day. Blessed day to all of you. I look forward to catching up with you all next week. You guys are the best. Really enjoy every moment that we work together. The community we have is just truly, really inspiring. If you're not yet subscribed to the channel, go ahead and do that. If you made it all the way to the end of the video, go ahead and leave a comment. Let me know that you made it to the end. Go ahead, smash that like button. And everyone, I'll talk to you soon.